So I taught a women's basic pistol today, and our classes are pretty small. So 7 students is our max for a basic class like that, and that really gives me an opportunity to work closely with the students throughout the 4 to 5 hours that they're with me. So I had a variety of students today. Some had shot before, some had been shooting for a little while, some were brand new, some had it was just a wide variety, and it was in a basic class. So oftentimes ladies will come to class and we do an introduction at the beginning, and it's kind of like, okay, who are you, what's your name, what your shooting experience is, and then why you're here and what do you hope to gain from the class. And it's very often that the ladies will say that, oh, my husband or my brother or my son or whoever wants me to be here because we have a gun in the house, and they said I should know how to use it, and I want to protect myself, and I think the world's getting crazy enough that it's finally time for me to get this. And not everybody wants to get into the guns, and I get that. The guns are a lot of fun for me. That doesn't have to be the case for everybody, and I respect that. As long as you can respect my decision, I can respect your decision. Just because, if you don't like guns, you are not required to carry one or own one even. If you don't like, or if you do like guns, I don't want to be forced to not have one. That's a whole nother topic. But my point is oftentimes my ladies' classes, they might not want to be there, or they already come in with a preconceived notion that it's going to be really hard for them. They don't have the strength to do it. They don't have this. They don't have that. And they just don't want to be there. So there's a certain level of adversity that they have to overcome to just do that. It's not natural for women to want to shoot guns or use a protective tool in general, because by nature we're more of nurturers and we give life rather than take life. So I'm not saying that it's wrong for us to own guns, obviously, but it's unnatural in a lot of ways, and for a lot of women, it's not a blanket statement. There's obviously some people that just jump right into it without that adversity and or aversion to it, and that's awesome. And if you do have that aversion, that's cool too. So we work through that stuff. So I had a lady in class today that had a bit of a challenge right off the bat, and she came in with a revolver. And the reason for the revolver was because she had a hand that had some structural issues. So she was unable to really grasp anything other than just a little bit with 2 fingers. I don't know if it was her index finger or her thumb, but she was able to kind of get a grasp on something with just 2 fingers. So she could hold on to a round of ammunition, but the ability to rack the slide was not there. The ability to hold anything in that hand was not there, and for all intents and purposes, we were not going to use it as a part of our grip. So, she's also left-handed, and it's her right hand that is the one that's not quite there structurally. So she was using her left hand, and when she brought the revolver, we ran into a challenge that she was unable to open the revolver up to load the gun, and obviously that would require her to unload the gun the same way. So she's not able to load or unload the revolver because of the fact that, for one, she's left-handed, and the cylinder release latch is on the right side of the gun, so you can't access it with your left thumb. So holding in her left hand, she would have to use an index finger or a middle finger to hit the latch, all while holding onto the gun and opening the cylinder with her other hand from the other side. And shooting a revolver as a lefty is already really difficult and challenging. So with the inability to use her other hand, it was a whole nother level of challenge for her. And it really is it's painful for my students sometimes when they come into class with a gun that a loved one gave them, or they spent a lot of time thinking about holding guns and researching and all this other stuff, and so said this was a great gun, and okay, so this is the one I went with, and they identify with that decision, or they have a loved one gave it to them, or maybe they passed on and they acquired it. There's some level of commitment to that gun that a lot of people have. So whenever they come into class and we talk about, grip and how to hold and how to shoot it and recoil management and things like that and loading and all that stuff, it starts to become apparent that the sacrifices that they made to choose the gun that they did may not be the sacrifices that they wanted to make, or they didn't realize they were making that. So oftentimes women will choose a revolver to overcome the requirement to rack a slide or load a magazine. And we discuss it in class, and with proper technique, racking a slide, loading a magazine is no thing. For the most part, they will be okay with that, and by the end of the class, they were almost wishing, well, they usually are wishing they have a semi-automatic versus a revolver. And that's what a little training will get you. It'll get you the understanding of the proper technique and form, so that way you can make good decisions about the firearm that you want to purchase. As an instructor, it's a tricky place to be, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings on the gun that they acquired from a loved one, or the gun that they put a lot of work into and trying to figure out if that was right for them, and then just learning that they didn't make the best decision. And it's not really their fault, because you don't know what you don't know. So I wish more people knew that the training and understanding how to use the gun correctly will really be the biggest help for choosing a correct gun. There's a certain aspect of your grip that you have to commit to every single shot in order to really understand how much that gun recoils and how it feels in your hand when you shoot it. That's what a lot of people are paying attention to. How does this gun feel when I hold it, when I shoot it, when I pull the trigger? Can I shoot accurately with it? And all of that comes back to your grip. And as a new shooter, you haven't committed the grip to your subconscious yet. So if you don't have it committed to your subconscious, then you are unable to apply it reliably every single time. So whenever you're shooting the gun, you might be focusing on something else, like your sights or your trigger, and forget about making sure that your support hand's tight. So then it has a bunch of recoil and your shot looks like crap, and it's the support hand does so much. And that technique really helps solidify the way that gun works for you. So I went a little bit down a rabbit hole about choosing a gun, but it is a struggle as a new shooter to come into a class with a gun that you already purchased thinking it was going to work for you, ideally, and it just doesn't. So think about taking a training class first to figure out which works. So anyway, so she comes in with a revolver. We quickly realized that she's unable to open the cylinder to load the gun or unload the gun, or to really do it safely. We weren't able to get the cylinder open yet. Based off of the way that she was persevering through everything, her determination was fantastic. And based on that alone, I know without a doubt she would have gotten it. Without a doubt. She's freaking awesome. But in that moment, it was a realization that was going to be a much more of a challenge for her. And it was a .357 Magnum revolver as well, which can shoot .38 Special, which is similar in recoil to a 9mm. Different gun, so it's a little different, but it doesn't have the .38 Special doesn't have a ton of recoil. The .357 does. Regardless, I'm going on another rabbit hole. But we decided to shoot a semi-automatic 22. And my thought was that I wanted to get her a little inoculated to shooting, just pointing it, pulling the trigger, sight, smell, sounds, all of that. So if maybe I had to load her magazine for her, or I had to rack the slide for her, just to kind of get her started to see if it's even something that she wanted to continue on with, that was my goal for her today. And when I got the 22, I showed her the slide stop lever so she can release the slide. Given that it was already back, she could release it without racking the slide with her hand. So we practiced with that a little bit. There were some other challenging things. I don't remember the specifics on it, but at what point I was trying to figure out a way that she could rack the slide without using this grasping motion. because without the ability of using both hands, she would have to rack the gun on her belt or the bench or something like that, which is possible. It's not ideal, especially not for a brand new shooter. So I didn't want her doing that in class today. So what I was hoping to do was do the loading and everything and just let her shoot it. Well, I could tell that wasn't going to work for her. She wanted to know how to load it. She wanted to do everything that she could to use the gun the way that it's supposed to be used. And she wasn't going to give up. And it was amazing. Like, I loved watching her work her way through it. And we eventually got to the point where we got a 22 caliber, small caliber that had little recoil, and with a red dot on it. Okay, so we started with a 22 because new shooter and just getting used to the recoil, and again, sight, smell, sounds. You can practice trigger control and all the fundamentals, front sight focus, all that stuff with a 22. So that wasn't what I was worried about. Can she handle a 9mm? Absolutely. It was just racking the slide and just getting used to everything that I was most concerned about. So we went with a 22 that had a red dot sight on it. Her ability to rack the gun became available with the red dot sight on it. So when the little window that sticks up off of the top of the slide, I would show you right now, but I can't. The little window that sticks up on the top of the slide, if you get one mounted, a red dot sight, you can use that as a way to rack your gun instead of making or having to grab onto the top of the slide. So that's what she did. She would put her hand in front of it, and she still had use of her palm. So she put her palm right on front of the optic and then use that as a way to rack the slide. And regardless of if you have a hand disfigurement or not, that is a great way to rack the slide. It is one of the nice things about the optic is, given that you have a good quality one that's mounted correctly with Loctite and everything, you can use it as a racking tool, and it's quite helpful. So that's what we went with. She kicked ass. She got through several magazines, and she was shooting accurately. She was shooting efficiently. She was able to load her magazines. The 22 has a little slider on it and everything. I do believe that she would be able to overcome with a 9mm as well, using a speed loader, get her magazines loaded. And you should have seen the look on her face when she got to shoot, and it worked, and it was easy, and she just needed to get to the shooting part to pull the trigger. And once she got there and she saw what it was like she just took a breath of fresh air. She was like, oh. And now she realizes that challenge to overcome was totally worth it. And she's gonna do it. She's gonna make it, and she's gonna be just fine. She's gonna know how to shoot a gun. She'll start with a 22, build some confidence. She can come in as much as she wants at the range and rent one to her heart's content to build that confidence. And then once she's confident with that, she can come back and shoot a 9mm and be able to do all the exact same things. And now she is a person that once thought that she would never be able to shoot a gun before. And because she didn't give up and she kept trying and tried different things, she freaking nailed it. And she was good. She was shooting accurately and efficiently and confidently. It's the best. It's the freaking best. So with that, know that everybody has challenges to overcome with getting into the gun world, whether it's a physical ailment, it's a mental ailment, it's something from your past that, maybe a loved one was taken by, tragic murder or something by a gun, and that's hard. I had a lady one time come into class that was very, very nervous to be there, and she said that the reason why she was there, one of the things that made her nervous about being there was that she had, I'm trying to recall his story, but her brother was holding his child, and nobody was hurt. Her brother was holding his child, an infant, in his arms, and I guess he had a gun tucked into his waistband, and she thought that the gun's safety malfunctioned and the gun malfunctioned and it went off. That is not the case with firearms. Handguns are, guns in general, they don't just go off. It takes quite a malfunction for that to happen, mechanical failure. And while that is a possibility, that's the reason why the safe direction is so important. But But again, I don't want to. The likelihood of that happen is incredibly slim. So what malfunction, like what negligent discharges like that usually come from, especially when a gun is in your pants, it's from the trigger being pressed because it's not safely secured in a holster. Okay, so if your gun is in your pants, if it's loaded, if there's a round in the chamber, it needs to be married to a holster. If it's loaded, I don't even like to set down loaded guns on the bench. It's really rare that I will set down a loaded gun. I prefer to be having it safely holstered in its holster with the trigger protected, or I'll unload the gun and lock the slide back so it's obvious that the gun is unloaded. I handle guns so often that if I ever get complacent with my safety, that's when something bad's gonna happen. So I can't do that. Nobody should do that. Nobody should ever get complacent with a firearm. That's when bad things happen. Anyway, I'm going down another rabbit hole. That never happens for me. Training removes the fear. Because it solves the problem of it. It answers the unknowns. The unknowns are usually where the fear comes from, and the unknowns and carelessness are what come from, or what accidents come from. So really, a training class that is teaching you the ins and outs to answer the questions removes the fear, and it makes you safer, and it teaches you how to hit your target, so it's more rewarding. So you get to spend less time and less amount of ammo to accomplish the same thing by taking a 4 to 5 hour class versus spending the next several months and hundreds of rounds of ammo to try to teach yourself these concepts. I'm a self-teacher too. I love to learn all kinds of things, and the training can help get you there faster, and safer. It is a deadly tool, and it helps you to overcome that adversity while you're nervous or needing some assistance through those personal things. And then one last part about this is that, there's another student that frequents our place quite a bit. She's a member of Lady Sentinel, and she has brought this to my attention. It's such a great thing to remember. And I've said this to several students since she brought it up, and I tell my students all the time, like, I learn just as much from you as you could potentially learn from me. Like, I adore my students and all the things that they share with me, and this was a huge one, is you don't have to like the gun. You don't have to like shooting. And if you can change your goal from I need to like this to I need to respect this and understand it, then maybe the fun will come, but at least you can respect its purpose and the value of it. If you choose to use it as a good defensive tool, as a force equalizer, as a way to protect your life and your family's life if you needed it, then you can respect that, and therefore you can overcome the adversity and choose to do it anyway. It's like going to the gym. Like, we don't want to do squats, or we don't want to go to the gym. I don't know, there's definitely people that love going to the gym, and I wish I was one of those people who love strength training, but you do it anyway because you know it's good for you, right? So that's kind of what shooting can do for you too. You don't have to like it, but you can respect it and what it's capable of doing for you, and to overcome that challenge of doing it in lieu of your appreciation of it. And I think that can take some of the pressure off. In fact, that's what she communicated to us, is that it removed the pressure. She's more likely to come to the range now and practice because she doesn't feel that pressure of having to like it. When she's around us and she comes in and we're like, oh my gosh, did you see this new gun? And oh, I like your grip. Like, we're getting all fun and excited about, a piece of gear or a skill or something, about the gun. And she just can't, she's like, that doesn't resonate with me like that. And so it makes it even harder to continue on, because she felt like she needed to like it. Like, that was the goal, was to like it. And I can see where that can come from. And your goals are your own. If you want to get to the point where you like it, then you want to make it as easy, rewarding, and fun as possible. Give yourself challenges that, you know, like maybe you shoot the left target and the right target, you like doing transitions or something, or you shoot a little faster, or you really work on shooting slow and you get whatever it is that you're getting a little reward from. Figure out what that is and build yourself up. Keep building that dopamine. Do something to get yourself a reward. Like I like to shoot slow and precise. So I give myself a little reward by, if I go on the range and I go practice, I'm going to give myself a little reward by practicing something I like. But then I'm also going to practice something that I don't like speeding up. So that way I can challenge myself to grow in a way that I need to grow in. Okay. So, you know, give yourself that little dopamine hit and do something you like. Do something you're good at. Do something you'll get a reward from. If you need to know what that is, then work with an instructor. Figure out what you need, and figure out what you're good at, so you can get that reward, and then you get a little bit of a rush to move on to the next thing. It's like if you need to clean your house. You're like, man, I really don't want to clean. I don't even know how to get started. Just take the bathroom trash out. Okay, you pick up a bag, you walk it outside, and you throw it away. Okay, you go put a new bag in the trash can, and then you notice on the counter that you gotta wipe down the counter real quick. Okay, I'll just grab this little Lysol wipe. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, all done. Wow, that took like 30 seconds. Huh, what else can I get into? You see that it just kind of keeps building. That's how humans work. We get a little bit of a dopamine that tells us that we did it right. We accomplished the task. And then it empowers you to keep going. So that's helpful for overcoming adversity. That is the 30,000 foot view of Lady Sentinel. If you can overcome the fears or the nerves, the challenges of shooting, whether it's to get to the point where you like it, or you can get to the point where you respect it, or both, hopefully both, but it's okay. What other things can you overcome in your life? Like getting out of a bad relationship, or empowering yourself to sign up for that night class at the local college so you can learn how to pursue a better career. You know, like there's a lot of things to do. That public speaking event, that interview that you need to go to, making a new friends, making small talk, you know, like there's all kinds of things that you can grow into. And that's Lady Sentinel. Overcoming adversity, perseverance, determination, and not giving up. That's Lady Sentinel. And knowing that you have a community to help you through it. So, keep doing what you do, ladies, because that was awesome. And I am so blessed that I get to be a part of that. I tell my class every day when I go to teach that please don't stop asking me questions. Like, don't think that a question is dumb, because I learn just as much from you as you could learn from me. And I want to know where you're at as a student, and I want to help you grow. And I want to do it together. And let's do it. All right, you guys have a super awesome day. See ya.